Hi friends. So today I thought I would talk a little bit about the Christian life. Is it far and wide or is it deep and narrow? That's the question. I want to explain. So this is something I learned recently from Father Mike Smith. He was making the observation that 80% of Jesus' ministry, 80% of his ministry was done within a 5-mile radius. Right? That just like blows our minds. And when I thought about that for a while, I had to ask the question, why? I mean, wouldn't it make much more sense if the Son of God would go all around the known civilized and uncivilized world, and that's how he would bring the good news of himself as God become flesh and make disciples and then grow his church universal, right? No, not right. What Jesus did is genius, and it's so fundamental and so basic to us as Christians who follow him, and it's so necessary. What Jesus did is that he invested in a few. He did not go far and wide. He went narrow and deep. He went narrow in that he picked just a few disciples that he made into his apostles who became disciple makers. And he invested deeply in their lives. And then from that, over the centuries, we saw this rapid growth in the Christian church, in the Roman Catholic Church, all the way up to just in the last couple generations. For the first time in our history as Christians have we gone through a decline globally. And I want to come back to that. Let alone a decline in your families, with your spouses and your kids and your grandkids and friends and associates in our culture, right? So I'm going to come back to that. The secret is to go deep into the lives of a few people. And this is the model that Jesus established. And this was the model that every Christian followed. And the church in general, like the institutional church, and schools and parishes and dioceses and families and boyfriend and girlfriend and husband and wife and mother and father. I want to give you the example of how this kind of works. When I was a chaplain at Ohio Wesleyan University for 5 years, I was also the associate at St. Mary's in the town of Delaware, Ohio. And so we had this university right in our backyard, and I became the chaplain, and also I was the campus minister. There would be young men and women, college students, who would come and go over the 5 years that I was there and got involved with our Catholic campus ministry programs and all the things that we did, Mass on campus and missionary trips and rosaries and lunch and Bible studies and all that stuff. I love doing that stuff. But what I did is I ended up investing each year in a few people, a small. Now, we had a larger group, and I spent time with them, but I invested in a few of them, both men and women. I want to give you the example of 4 women, just briefly. They became my leadership team, and they were some of them over the same time, and some of them came after the others. But I spent time praying with them and leading them and going out in groups and having fun and socializing and having dinners together. And they would help me with the whole bigger group, right? They would help me lead the missionary groups and the Bible studies and the set up for Mass and break down for Mass and do the readings and cantor and be the Eucharistic ministers and stuff and so on. Those 4 women now, because that was a while ago, the incredible things that they're doing in their lives. One of them now is running the largest youth ministry program in the Diocese of Columbus. Another one was an adult faith formation and pastoral associate and several other things that she did in the parish in South Bend, Indiana. And now she's in ministry at Notre Dame University, helping them run all their liturgies at the Basilica, and is married to a wonderful man who's helping lead the campus ministry across the University of Notre Dame. Another one is doing very well at being a doctor, a medical doctor, and has been very much involved with her faith and leading other people to Christ, both when she was in medical school after undergraduate at Ohio Wesleyan, and then in fellowship, and found a wonderful Catholic man and is raising a beautiful family, and continues to bring people to Christ. And then the fourth one is a very successful lawyer in the DC area. She was able to internship for one of the United States justices, which is, an incredible and rare opportunity. And then from that, and being active in her faith, she met a wonderful Catholic man, and he's also a lawyer. And what the two of them are doing and raising children, and also using their gifts as warriors to advocate for justice and for the good of people is incredible. We don't have to go far and wide, but near and narrow, and then deep into people's lives. What does that look like? It's not making people a project. It's treating people like people. They're not our program, They're not a notch on our belt. These are people that we're supposed to love. And in loving them, and then sharing our faith and our values and all the gifts that God has given us, then we invest in them, and we get the ROI, the return on investment. And that return on investment can happen right away as we're pouring into them, or it can happen years later. I still get Facebook posts and emails and phone calls from some of these college students who, during the time that they were coming to Newman Group, they didn't seem to be getting it or getting involved, or they were on the margins. And yet they tell story after story about where they are now. So sometimes that ROI comes later. You think about, for instance, your own children. You pour into them your love and your faith and your values and that relationship that you have with Jesus Christ, right? You share that with them. And sometimes they grow up and they just soak and bask in this and are saturated with the faith. And other times, not so much, and it takes a while for it to really take root in their life. But that foundation is laid, and they start to build the house of God within them later on in life. But you never give up and pour. They're not your project, they're your people. They're people that God has given to you. And that's something to pay attention to. Because look at the whole history of Christianity. The whole history of Christianity followed this model. Not far and wide, yes, there are people who did that, but mostly narrow and near and deep. And the church grew century after century, and through all kinds of diverse languages and cultures and customs and nations and kingdoms that have risen and fallen, and yet the faith still remains in those lands, right? All the way up to just the last couple centuries. No, the last couple generations. What changed? We stopped investing in people with our faith. We stopped investing in them, in our children. We advocated the project of Christianity to a school or a PSR or to some sort of program. But we ourselves stopped investing in our children because we became too busy and we stopped investing in ourselves. Think about the rich man who comes to Jesus and he says, Jesus, what must I do to inherit the kingdom of heaven? And he says, well, follow the commandments. And the guy said, okay, I already do that. What more? Yeah, you and I are good people, right? And so was this man. But then Jesus said, okay, then come, sell everything and follow after me. But before he said that, I left out a line, the gospel writer reports that Jesus looked on him with love. He loved the man first. And then he invited him to more. We've got to stop going on just like, well, I follow the commandments or I'm not breaking the commandments. And allow Jesus to look upon us with love. And then looking upon us with love, not a project, but as a person. We enter into that relationship with him and we grow in that relationship with him. And then the very thing that Christ does to us and we allow him to do to us, invest in us, we will have all the stuff and the heart, the grace and the equipment, the tools that we need to be able to invest in other people. And when we do that, then our families will start to grow in love again. Our churches will explode in faith. Our schools, we won't be able to house the number of kids in our schools. Our PSR programs and youth ministry programs will be on fire. Our marriages will be whole and holy and fun and life-giving. And our culture will be redeemed. And the people that we love the most, the ones who are near, the ones who are narrow next to us, by investing in them deeply, then Christ will grow his church far and wide. Until next time.